After a report by the High Pay Commission found executive pay has gone out of control. But has it? William Knight Hamilton runs the international executive headhunting firm Knight Hamilton, and Gavin Hayes is General Secretary of the left-wing pressure group Compass. They both join us now. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. First of all, from a headhunter's point of view, how can high pay be justified?
It can certainly be justified because, nowadays we have such international challenges. The person that is actually running the company is the captain of the ship. This person is responsible for driving the company forward, increasing profits, increasing shareholder value. It's all very well saying that working people that work very hard, of course, feel very frustrated that the person that runs their company is getting such a high salary and bonus. But I believe, and we find it very difficult to attract the right person unless these salaries and bonuses are high enough for the international playing field.
There you go, Mr. Hayes. If there's no choice, you have to pay the big bucks.
Well, look, no one's going to argue against people getting paid a decent salary for a decent job, but the sorts of figures that we're talking about here are absolutely excessive. And the report into high pay that's been released today found that at Barclays, for example, their top executive, his salary has gone up by a staggering 4,899.4% over the last 30 years, while the average worker's salary has only gone up threefold. So this is an absolutely staggering increase over the last 30 years. And some of the sensible measures that the High Pay Commission is calling for is, in essence, greater transparency. So, for example, asking companies to publish the ratio between what they pay their top executive and the average worker, making it far more clearer exactly what they pay their top executive, and also calling for the establishment of a high pay unit which would look more carefully at these issues. But we know what happens when people are paid too much. It was excessive pay that fueled excessive risk taking, which caused the worst economic crisis for over 60 years. So it's very clear that we do need action on this issue to rein in those at the top.
So, Mr. Knight Hamilton, if companies are loud and proud about how much they pay their top executives, it should be transparent, and perhaps employees should be part of a remuneration committee.
I think it's very good to have employees as part of a remuneration committee, but I don't think they should be on the voting panel, because to choose the right chief executive is something that only really the directors of the company can do, together with external advisors and so on. The international playing field at the moment for people that are able to take large companies from loss-making companies into profit with the intense competition, that is a very difficult decision to make, to recruit that person. And once again, we believe that the remuneration needs to be high enough to attract and compete with the international companies, of which there are many in a similar situation.
That old chestnut, Mr. Hayes, but nevertheless, it does seem to be proven time and again.
I'm not sure that it has actually been proven. I think one thing that we have to remember is, these chief executives that work at these companies, and bankers indeed, they are people who are rooted in their communities. They are people who've got kids that they send to schools in their local communities. We hear this myth all the time from the city that, people are suddenly going to up and leave. But there just simply is no evidence of this. The evidence is that excessive pay fuels excessive risk-taking, which is inherently dangerous for our economic stability and sustainability. Okay. And just one final point.
You did actually make that point a couple of times, so let's go back to Mr. Knight Hamilton as well and try and speak about that in a little bit more detail. Richard Evans, president of PepsiCo in the UK and the Irish Republic, told colleagues that he earned £4,365,000 and a bit of change last year, but he needs to be paid that because he needs to be competitive with the rest of the world. We were just hearing there from Mr. Hayes that actually he's probably got family embedded, entrenched here, and he's unlikely to go elsewhere.
Well, I mean, if that person is worth that money, then he should get it. I mean, we believe in paying the right people in order to do the job. It's so easy to think, well, just get a chief executive who has had international success, but we have to recruit people with a very fine tooth comb in every way, right across the world, in order to attract that person and sell the company to them to join, get them motivated, and obviously we have to tie them into performance bonuses. They can be retrospective if the achievements are not made that are promised. But in general, I would say some of the figures we're hearing today are rather exaggerated. I do believe that most chief executive officers do not get that sort of remuneration. We're hearing of extreme cases, but you've certainly got to pay for what you get.
I think that's reasonable, is it, Mr. Hayes? Those are headline figures, aren't they, to underline the point? But most chief executives or executives don't get that sort of headline figure, do they?
Well, look, let me give you another statistic. A cleaner working on the minimum wage would have to work for 283 years just to receive the same remuneration as a FTSE 100 CEO does in just 1 year. We have a huge
comparing apples and pears, isn't it? So, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Hayes, but that's like comparing apples and pears, isn't it? The cleaner would not want to do the chief executive's job, or may not be in a position to be able to do the chief executive's job, and perhaps vice versa.
But look, these huge pay gaps that we have, and this irresponsibility that is shown at the top, it's corroding, it's corrosive for our economy, our society, and for companies. It's breeding distrust. There's huge resentment out there. The High Pay Commission did a poll on this, and 79% of the British public, think that that pay at the top is out of control. And as I say again, nobody has any problem with people earning a decent salary for a decent job. But some of the salaries at the top that we've seen in recent years have indeed been excessive, as even the business secretary today has alluded to. Yeah. And that is exactly why we need sensible measures such as greater transparency, greater accountability to ensure that we tackle this issue.
Yeah, Mr. Knight Hamilton, it cannot be acceptable that someone would have to work for more than 2 centuries in order to earn something that someone else earns in a year.
Well, this unfortunately is the current situation internationally in attracting the right chief executives. I would say to you that in terms of talking about the salary of the cleaner, isn't it more important to talk about their job? With the right chief executive, it may be that cleaner can keep his job. With the wrong chief executive, then the cleaner could lose his job. What is more important, the salary differential or actually keeping their job?
Gentlemen, fascinating stuff, but I'm afraid we've run out of time. Sorry to rush you there. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. We appreciate you taking the time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.